All right. Hello, everyone. Um, I watched Project Hail Mary, and I didn't expect to make a video about this because I thought I was kind of just going to be in the same boat and have the same opinions as everyone else. And I have a lot of mixed feelings. And I also hesitate to make a video about this because I feel like, especially on YouTube and anything where you put your opinion out there, there's this atmosphere that that's your opinion forever. It freezes your opinion. Oh, if you don't like something or if you like something, then you always have those same thoughts. But that's completely not true. Like, opinions change, and I notice my opinions change a lot. Maybe I'll revisit it someday, and then I'll have different opinions. There's a moment where Ryan Gosling wears like a beanie in a scene, and so I was like, yeah, let's wear a beanie, I guess. This film's been getting so much attention, and so many people are watching it, and it's been getting a lot of really great reviews. People have been loving watching this. Props to all the filmmakers, like props to Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Props to the props, the practical sets, everything that they built, the puppetry. My friends have been excited to watch it. They've been loving it. I've been telling people to watch it. I don't want to do anything to drag down the goodwill of this movie. It seems to be appealing to just so many groups of people, which is really impressive. Unlike my last video where I talked about Dune, I have not read the book for this. Andy Weird without the D makes very actually normal stories, funny enough. So he's not actually weird, he's just weird. No spoilers, not until like later in the video I'll start talking about that. I have a very vivid memory of watching The Martian when I was a kid in like seventh grade. I remember sort of enjoying it in the moment, but feeling very like underwhelmed, I guess. I remember feeling quite tired, fatigued. And I feel the same way about this. I know it's completely a different director. The premise I was just so on board with. First shot, I don't know what's going on. I want to know how he got here, like how this happened, and that was all just so compelling to me. But the experience of watching the film left me a lot to be desired, which is weird to me because there's so many incredible moments that are just so great to watch. The sound was really cool, the music was really cool, the acting was so fun. Like, Ryan Gosling is just a great guy to watch for 2.5 hours. He's almost 90% of the movie. The experience was really great, but I found my head kind of empty most of the time. It led to me, especially in the second half, growing increasingly fatigued, frustrating, and very bored. The momentum that it carries in the first half continues to reset multiple times, and some of those times it introduces plot elements that add very little to the experience. I'm finding that while all of the elements are expertly done, there's a lack of thematic cohesion. There's things about communication, about being unqualified, about bravery, beauty, appreciation of the natural world. What is life? What does it do? What is it for? Where it's both life and death, interestingly enough. Everything works. The first half is so fun and the middle is so thrilling. The ending kept reversing what I thought the point of the film was. Things about Ryan Gosling's character's decisions, how does he end, his companions end, how those are supposed to play together. Basically, it was setting up reveals. I thought it was going a certain way, but it seemed to fall flat. I just kept expecting the problem faced to be solved with something that ties the film thematically together. But instead, it just happens. It's, you see, it's very ironic because there's a lot of like these visual metaphors about like connections, about like kind of weaving a web, about vertices and geometry, but this film seems to lack a vertex that synthesizes all these elements together. It feels very sporadic. Obviously, there's a lot of inspiration from other great space films, like 2001 is in there, Interstellar is in there. There's this really obvious shot where the camera's like mounted on the underside of their ship, and then everything's like all the space is like spinning, like the background is spinning. That's like such an obvious Interstellar shot. I am someone who's gotten very like desensitized to spectacle, you know? Like I see big flashy lights and cool visuals and I hear sounds, and I just go like, that's cool. Like I generally don't respond that crazily to things that are just kind of cool. A lot of the visuals in here have substance, but I think the story's so fractured that it hurts the weight of these visuals, because there's a sequence that is so much like Interstellar. It's clearly trying to have the weight of the docking scene, but I think it doesn't quite understand why that scene works so well. It feels like it's just kind of doing it, and it feels like it just kind of does the reference and then leaves it there. Like I don't know why it's doing that. Project Hail Mary seems to just drag on and on and on and on and not properly answer the thematic question, because I couldn't really tell you what the thematic question is. There's just a lot of things that it's about, and none of those synthesized for me in any meaningful way. I mean, at the end of the day, like the main Ryan Gosling's characters feels in the same place as he was. I don't know what the point of this movie was. I don't know what, if he's learned anything other than he's just okay. I think it's time to get into spoilers. Here I have Charles. How are you? How's it
I'm
going?
great.
You're doing great.
It's going great.
It's
Yep.
going great. Yeah. So
Uh,
we both watched Project Hail Mary, Full of Grace, the movie. So you read the book. How do you feel about the book, and then your experience watching it, and how you felt coming out?
so I first read the book in 2022, shortly after it came out, and I instantly fell in love with it. I mean, in the book, every chapter there's like a twist. And it's
Oh my
like
gosh.
you don't know where it's going, but then it's also like so cohesive by the end. It's great. But then I was super excited when they first announced the movie, and so I realized, oh my gosh, like this is going to be way too long and way too dense to be done justice in a movie. They should have done this as a mini series. So I kind of had apprehensions going into it. And I guess also I'd heard about this screen room that they were going to add into the movie. I ended up really liking it. I thought it was sort of a cool way for Grace to bring a piece of home back to Arid with him by the end of the movie. Because in the book, it's just there's darkness just surrounding that the small habitable area that he has to spend all of his time in, and just it has a few floodlights that the Iridians made, and I think this is a lot better visually for an ending, but also it just makes a lot more sense visually. They pulled it off really well. I mean, the way they shot the astrophage, especially in the Petrova line, looks really good. I mean, there's not a ton of sensory description in the book. That's not necessarily Andy Weir's strength as a writer, and so I think Lord Miller and Goddard had to take a lot of liberties with how the movie looked visually, and I think they knocked it out of the park. I mean, it is really good looking. I think.
Yeah, he's coming off of Dune, so he's got a stacked resume. It's interesting that you mentioned the ending, how it's like in complete darkness, because that that was kind of a motif that I found running through the movie about like their difference in perception, about
Mhm.
how like, oh, like they don't know that like radiation's a thing because like they can't perceive light.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like That's really interesting because it's like it shows like what you care about differently. Like there's that moment where he's like
Hmm.
standing on top of the ship and he's like, "Oh, I need to take a moment." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Like why?" And it's like cuz he can
Right.
see it and like you wouldn't care about certain things, but and
Yeah.
my general reaction and what you're saying is making a lot more helping it make a lot more sense to me. Like they do reveals very differently. It seems to take a lot more
Mhm.
time, and it seems to
Yes.
allow you to leave you in the dark, like quite literally, which is very funny to me. Like,
Yeah.
which I thought was going to be so much more of a part in the movie, and this is making so much more sense. Okay, so
Yeah.
oh, I
So
have so
like
many
in the
thoughts.
book, he doesn't even know his name until like maybe three chapters in. He doesn't know he's in space until the end of the first chapter. Like
Yeah,
in the book, it's
it
sort
happens like
of
30
unraveled a
seconds.
lot slowly why he's actually there.
The idea of a species that sees sound in the same vibrancy that we see color is really fascinating to me. But secondly, like I found that with this film, it was just going very by the numbers. It's like, okay, we have to hurry up and get to the next thing, get to the next thing. We have to
Mhm.
do, like the arrival scene. We have to like communicate. Like we just have to get through it. We just have to hurry up and get through it. And it seems kind of a little allergic to keeping you in the dark. Like it seems like it wants to kind of explain things really fast, and then once you do, it kind of just that's it. Like I kept expecting
Yeah.
you have to get explained all these things up front because there's like more. There's like more we're gonna reveal about like the
Mhm.
petroleum line, whatever you call it, and like
Petroleum. Yeah.
what are these things? They're alive. Like does that matter? Like does that come back? It's like it seems like they had this shocking revelation that oh my gosh, we've discovered life, and then like that's kind of
That's a
it.
lot bigger in the book. That
Okay.
in the book that is huge. So the discovery of the astrophage is a lot more of a moment in the book because there's a few more classroom scenes in the book. So I believe it's not the first classroom scene in the book
Oh, thank
where
goodness.
you get this whole moment where Grace is eating a microwave dinner at home alone, watching the discovery of astrophage for the first time. The implications of this discovery of astrophage go a lot more beyond just we have to fix this problem we have. It's like okay, we have these things that can store way more energy than anything we have on Earth. How do we capitalize on this?
Yeah,
And
that
it's
was
like
so
it's
fast in this movie. It's like a groundbreaking discovery, and we're like, oh, okay. Like, what if you used it to like generate heat or
yeah, no,
generate
in the book, it's like
light, or
strongly implied that like
they can
Earth
survive?
once Earth is saved, like astrophage is actually going to propel humanity like far into the future, with like the technology that it can provide.
Yeah, it's just it felt so one-sided and where it's like
Mhm.
full disclosure, like I really did not enjoy watching this movie. I felt like all the visuals were really like they were really good and I was like the story was really cool and the performance is really cool and all the practical stuff is really cool. Like that's all fine. That's all good. And I'm like telling people like you should go watch it. Like you should go watch this movie because I'm in the minority, but I was just so like it felt so much like the when that first classroom scene hit and it
Mhm.
just like okay I'm just gonna sit you down and just explain it away in the most like clunky way possible. I was like oh my gosh like
Mhm.
this like I get it like we just kind of got to get through it get it done dirty, but then there's a moment where he like does the experiment where he puts the box inside of a box and then it's like he's literally in the dark and he has to operate in the dark. I was convinced that when I saw that scene, it was setting up the structure of how the solution or the ending of this movie is gonna go. And I was like low
Mhm.
key, right? Because like you kind of say there's a lot more darkness at play, a little more at least. But I was like, I thought that because they're treating like all of these discoveries like with so much weight, but it just pushes past it and it was putting a little more
Mhm.
emphasis on like oh he is forming a funny relationship with like the security guard from the bear, and I was like okay like that's kind of a parallel to how he's gonna work together, but I just found like from like a metaphorical like a symbolic perspective like as a story structure as a character arc, so much of it felt like it wasn't coming together because the way the ending, there's just like there's like four different endings, and it kept
Hmm.
reversing everything. I was like what is the point of Grace as like what's he supposed to, does he have like wants and needs? Is he have like a core sort of a flat arc, or like I start as like a loser teaching a classroom and I end as a loser teaching a different classroom. I was like, what's the point? You know,
Hmm.
what is, does he just like hate Earth? Like I'm completely unconvinced that he cares to go back.
I think that is kind of the point. It's that Grace goes from being a coward on Earth because he doesn't really have anyone on Earth that he would be willing to die
He's
for.
just a rage baiter saying you don't need water to like make life. I was like, I'm just gonna
Right,
like,
exactly. But then he finally, finds someone in the most unlikely place that he would actually be willing to die for. And in the book, there's this whole thing toward the end that the movie doesn't really fully do, where you get to see as he's making his preparations to go back to Earth how he doesn't really want to go back to Earth, but in his mind he's like, well, this is where I belong. But then it's like he in the book they make a big deal about how terrible the food is on the ship, and like how alone he's going to be in those 4 years in his journey back to Earth. And you sort of get the sense that this isn't really what he wants, and so it really makes the moment more impactful when he decides to go back and save Rocky, because he finally found where he really belongs, and he gets to keep doing the one thing he liked to do on Earth, but now it's even better because he's in a place that he truly belongs with his best friend. That's how I see it.
I think what my problem was is that in the movie I keep on thinking that because he has so much, they do that flashback, like pretty much as in the end. Like I thought the movie was gonna wrap up, and they do another flashback, and they show, oh, like we kidnapped you and put you here against your will. They went through so much painstaking effort to show like he doesn't want to be doing this, and I guess it's more obviously he doesn't know that there's aliens out there. Sure, like he doesn't want to be forced to do something and be alone, but it's like it just felt very simple, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I just, I've made peace with that, and that's it. But then he's like, oh, but I actually didn't, it's just very like one-sided.
I think more than anything, he's afraid of dying alone. The moment you're talking about when Rocky offers him the remainder of his fuel, or a portion of his fuel, and he cries because he realizes he's going to get to live. I think, sort of
Yeah,
with the memory loss of not really knowing why he's there, assuming that he's there because he's brave, he thinks he has to put on this act of, oh, I've made peace with it. Clearly, I'm a brave person who volunteered to be here. And then it's like, no, clearly that's not who he really is. He just
yeah.
doesn't know that about himself.
You know what I thought was gonna happen, because they were going through so much painstaking effort to show that he was um like he was a loser, I guess, that there's a point where he could have just chosen not to send the predator particles back to Earth. And I was like, dude, what if he just kills us all? When we cut back to it, I was like, shoot. He has no reason to, like, he's literally been kicked off of Earth. And even though she's like, oh yeah, like you're gonna be a hero, like your reputation to be great, but from me watching it, I'm like, no, he feels like nobody likes it, like no, like he rejected him, and so now he's in a
Yeah.
place of like, I thought it was gonna make a very sort of, and I guess it kind of does, but it makes a profound like statement about like utilitarianism. It's like you're just a part in the machine and you're gonna fix it regardless. But then they're like, no, you need to realize like people need to feel wanted, or else they're not gonna, they might just not do what you say they're gonna do. And I'm like, you can't have a character be that like likable as Ryan Gosling and also have such a genocidal thought. Like you can't
Yeah.
really do
Okay.
that.
You know what's funny though?
But
I think it's important to bring this up here. So in the book, that there's sort of a way that is explained where
okay, tell me.
the amnesia was actually intentionally implemented by
Yeah,
Strat. She gave
that
him a
was super
drug.
undercover.
Most people who just saw the movie would probably assume he has amnesia because of the coma.
Yeah.
That is not why. He has amnesia because Strat ensured that he would not remember
Oh my
he was
god.
drugged and taken there against his will, so that by the time he
He's already
realized
done it.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
Which, yeah, I think definitely like
It's
they
like
were
so.
accounting for the possibility that he does just get that spiteful.
Yeah. See, that just makes her like so evil to me. It's
Oh,
like,
she is so much more evil in the book.
and in the movie, it's like I like absolutely like hated that last moment where we got with her, where she's like, "Oh, like I found the files and like oh I'm laughing. Oh, it's so nice." I'm like, "I hate
Yeah,
you."
well, like because this happens and she's been given like all this power, she feels like she has to do what she needs to do to save all of humanity at any cost, even if it bends all of her morals.
Yeah.
And so I do think, having that moment with her at the end, this is like now her, you know,
Her
letting
sigh
loose.
of
It's like
relief.
yes, it's
Yeah.
done. It's all good. But in the book, yeah, we never reconnect with Strat. It's she's sort of just a means to an end, and we how we figure out that Earth is saved is during the epilogue on Arid. We find out from like the scientists there that they notice that Earth's sun has returned to a normal state. So we never reconnect with Earth because I think in the book it's sort of like an afterthought. The heart of the story is Rocky and Grace's relationship.
How is the explanation of the death particles and the predator particles? It felt like such an afterthought of where I was like expecting there to be like a twist that it kind of explains more like what is the story being told. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, we don't find anything out for sure, but like in the book, like Rocky and Grace have a lot of conversations about you know, hypothesizing about a common ancestor that they could possibly have because of the way that these particles have sort of leapt from system to system, including their own home stars. It really makes you think a lot more about the larger implications in the universe.
The movie hinges on two very unlikely people, and when you bring up that they might be some distant relative, that's very interesting to me. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
basically two completely different people that have to put together their separate resources. And the fishing scene is like cool, but it seems like I was expecting it to be like using the alternate perspective more intentionally.
So, okay, actually, first of all, so the whole thing where like the Talmiba like break out of the Xenonite at the
Yeah,
end,
what
and
is that?
that's
Sounds
the
super
earlier.
un like super last minute in this movie. I was like,
Yeah,
why?
no.
What's the
So
point of this?
that does happen pretty much exactly like that in the book, but it also happens earlier. They just don't know what causes it, and so there's a whole scene like where because the Talmiba enough of it escapes and eats like all the astrophage that's powering the generators in the ship, the whole ship goes dark. And
Oh
like
my
Rocky
gosh.
then has to like
The
help
only
Grace
one
like
that knows
get
how to do
around
it.
the ship and like figure out how to like get the power back on and stuff. And it's like I understand why they cut that from the movie because maybe it would have been a little bit redundant. However, I do think it was not fully clear like how the like I don't think they set up enough with like the Talmiba getting out at the end. I
In
think
order to
there
warrant that.
needed to be some more setup with that because they kind of yada yada that, which is
So much
why
feels
I
yada
think the
yada.
ending was a little rushed in the
Yeah,
movie.
it's just like the ending is rushed in that it's introducing so much and then immediately trying to tackle it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, from my point of view, I'm like, what's the point of even like doing this? It felt so constructed that I was like, the only reason to do this is to get him to save Rocky and go to his home planet. Like, that's like the only reason. And it felt just so by the numbers, which is like kind of pains me to
Well,
say. Like, I don't know.
it makes sense in the book that like I
I
will
believe
say
you,
like
yeah.
they I mean, I think it makes sense in the movie too. There's just not a lot of time spent on it, like because in the book, there's at least a whole chapter spent on the process of breeding the next like evolutions of the Talmiba,
Oh my gosh.
um, and they spend so much time on like how they are actually like designing these Xenonite breeder tanks, and that really sets up the conflict later where they accidentally breeded an evolution that could go through Xenonite. When you sacrifice those scientific procedural moments of the story, although you get to focus more on the relationship
You're kind
building,
of losing some of the
you,
point, or yeah,
yes,
it just
they really go hand in hand, and that's why Andy Weir is
yeah.
such a great writer. He really knows how to write extremely human stories that also involve some complex science while also making it like really easy to understand.
It takes so much like hard science, which is the fun part. But when you make it a movie, it's like I don't want to hear about this. Like it has to be like cut the fat, super efficient. But it sounds like all of this like interesting scientific lore is, I call it lore. That's not just scientific like jargon, I guess.
Physics,
All like that's the fun. And
yeah,
the movie, but it's blending it so well with the plot, like the plot elements and the character moments, that it tries to just do the plot and the character moments, but you don't know why. And so you're kind of, so I'm like
mm,
left going like what, like why are we doing this? It's like
yeah.
it's like efficient to a fault almost, where
And
it's
then
like
one thing you also mentioned earlier is like the flashbacks and how like I think you were saying how it felt a little clunky like going into some of them, and
oh
uh,
yeah.
I think in the book it's less so because a lot of the flashbacks are triggered by what he's thinking internally,
Yeah, yeah,
and you know I think the very first flashback is triggered by he has a catheter in when he wakes up from his
yeah. Oh
coma
yeah.
in the book. He rips out the catheter, and a
Oh
stream
my
of blood goes
gosh.
across the floor, and that
Oh,
stream of blood
is
reminds
the
me of the
line.
Petrova line. So
That's
he's a lot
crazy.
more like motivated in
That's
like the second one.
insane.
I know, right? Yeah.
I can see that. I'm like, oh, that makes me uncomfy, but you can't do that in this PG-13 movie. But I forgot how they did in the movie.
Right, no,
But
yeah, it's like
it's
what
just very, it
you were
just like
saying where it's
happens.
I think it could have been handled better. I think there was just the way they did it, it was always like cutting from like a close up on Ryan Gosling. So like you could tell he was thinking about something, and then we see the flashback. But yes, in the book, it doesn't feel like it's just happening out of nowhere. It feels like it's motivated by what he's actually thinking about. And of course, that's because it's a first person perspective book
Yeah.
and we know what's going on in his thoughts.
I don't like things that have like project in the title because it seems really like meaningless to me. I hear Hail Mary and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about like Jesus like saving mankind, or like like angel comes to Mary, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like you have this like kind of first contact moment between like an alien and like a human, and they're supposed to save mankind, which is interesting because his name's Grace, and I was like, am I full of grace? And in the soundtrack there's these like boys choir happening in the soundtrack, and I
Yes.
was like, okay, like there's kind of like a religious symbolism going on, but then I was kind of like left hanging a little bit. I was
I don't
ish.
think the religious connotations were really meant to be more than surface level.
It,
They say that they name it Project Hail Mary because of like the football play. I'm assuming once Andy Weir decided that's what the ship and the story was going to be called, he just decided to like throw in some more religious things without really thinking too hard about it.
yeah, like I wasn't expecting him to go like super deep into it. It was a thought that came to my head, or
I don't think it's wrong to look for deeper things than that.
like I'll admit that's my sensibilities. It's just like it's the title, and so I was like, it's got to be a little more, but and
You're not the first person
yeah,
I've heard say that. I don't personally have a problem with it, but I definitely get it.
yeah, it just felt a little like out of the way. Be like, oh, it's a football reference. This isn't just a Hail Mary, and that we're just gonna send you out there and just see what happens. But this is like a double Hail Mary, where it's like we're gonna send you out there blind, where it's like, but what you're
Yeah.
explaining is like, oh, that's intentional because we want to hide our actions. But I thought I was
Mhm.
like, oh, what if he has to discover what he's supposed to find while trying to find it? It's like
Yeah. Well,
two, which is what
you know
kind of
what's
what
crazy
happens.
though?
But
He's like Yao and I forget her name, but the Russian one. They were supposed to survive. So it's like Strat wasn't sending Grace into this
yeah,
mission
they
thinking
die.
that like he was gonna have to discover everything
I
himself.
want to know how they
He or
died.
she thought that they were gonna explain to him what their mission was, and he would only
Yeah,
like
yeah.
forget.
But I don't know. It just I couldn't help but feel a little bit cynical about like humankind a bit, which is weird because a lot of people have been watching this and saying it's like the universe is beautiful and it's good that we live in this like really beautiful place and we're not alone in the universe. You could find friends in the most like crazy out there places and you all can work together and like science brings you together and like that's like great, but it doesn't offer really much case for humanity because all the other people that we see, except like the kids, are like the worst people.
We see a lot more people in the book. It's really interesting because one of the things that is a pretty big subplot in the flashbacks in the book is like the sacrifices that have to be made on Earth in the meantime, like while Project Hail Mary is happening. Those parts really actually emphasize the themes of like human survival and finding hope in the darkest times, because basically they, in order to breed enough astrophage to get enough fuel for the ship, is they have to completely turn the entire Sahara Desert
Like
into
a
a
breeding
solar
ground.
energy farm.
That's a I've
And
heard of that. That's
they,
like a real concept. People have thought about this.
yeah, they actually do it in the book, and then they also
Finally,
nuke
actually mobilize.
Antarctica in order to release
They nuke
methane gas.
Antarctica.
I think anything that didn't directly have to do with like building that like Grace Rocky relationship, they kind of didn't think about putting it in the movie too much, which I get because it's still 2.5 hours long already. And personally, as someone who read the book and loves everything that they left out of the book, I think they could have made it 30 minutes longer and really
Oh my
fleshed out a
god.
lot of the ideas
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
But I also know a lot of people are saying the movie's already too long.
Yeah,
So
but
it's like,
if you add the context, it would make
right,
the things that are slower have more weight, you know? Like
I fully agree. Like
it's
you
like
were
the
saying,
opposite
you think,
problem.
yeah, I think you were saying like the ending. It feels like there's just too many like endings where it's like going back and forth. But it's like if they had drawn it out even longer and added more of the context, I don't think it would have felt so back and forth on different things. I think it would have felt more of like a natural progression.
Yeah, and it also would help kind of seal the deal more on like why was collecting the predator particles were not, it was clearly not easy, but in the movie it is like easier than you expect. And I think if you moved that, like if you extended the ending and that part
Mm-hmm.
would therefore move to like closer to the middle of the movie, you would know like okay, something's like odd, like it's wrapping up kind of fast, like there has to be something else going on. That's the real drama happening because
Yeah, there's a
you
lot
know.
more that happens after they collect the particles. Well, after they get the particles and like Rocky, like you think he's dying, like they sort of made that like the Dark Night of the Soul moment in the movie where
Yeah,
like
I
this
fully
is not
thought he
really
was
a
gonna
bad.
die. I was like, oh shoot, he's gonna, that's it, the movie's gonna, he's gonna go home a changed man but still alone, but maybe he's able to connect with someone else, be could, I don't know, but then but it didn't do
Yeah,
that, and you know,
they
like
like
I
honestly, if I
was
had not read the book, I could have maybe had
like it's
seen
gonna
that
end
he was
soon.
gonna die there. Like I could have seen that for sure.
And
Yeah,
but
I do
yeah.
think what really like stuck out to me when I read the book, and I guess isn't there as much in the movie, is like the fact that it's like a first encounter with an alien, but like the concept of translating like an alien language. But the way it's done in Project Hail Mary, I think, is even more realistic in
Yeah.
that like they sort of explain why Rocky's vocal patterns are even in the same like register that Grace is able to hear, because uh, they would have both evolved from species that were running from predators and would have to hear predators approaching. It's like
Oh shoot.
I feel like every single part of that is thought through. In the book, Grace actually just learns to understand Rocky over time, like
Which they
the
do in the
sounds.
ending.
Yes, that I love.
Which felt very like, wait, what just happened? Like, oh shoot, he doesn't need it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the medium of like cinema, I think
It's
it
like
was probably the
easier.
right call to do the text to speech thing, because they
You can
still
have an
made
actor
it
voice
clear
him.
that he had to like learn it by like inputting the different sounds. I think the whole montage they had with that was a good way to do that.
Yeah.
You know how at first that like when he first goes in the tunnel, there's like all the different panels, and then he just happens to go up to the one that's like transparent.
Yeah.
Rocky has no idea that that panel is transparent.
Yeah.
He
To
is
him, the whole
assuming
thing's
that.
transparent, right?
Well,
Or
yeah,
no?
yeah. He is assuming that like Grace has the same sensory perception
That he has.
that he does, and so he's just putting up a bunch of different wall pieces to see, well, what can Grace hear through the best.
Oh my
He doesn't
gosh.
anticipate that
He
Grace
can
can
see.
hear through his eyes, and that panel happens to be transparent.
That's so
That's not a
interesting.
property he's familiar with. Yeah.
That's like so fascinating. Yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's like, it just makes me like kind of want to read this, and I don't know,
It's so cool because
because it's
like
just very
there's so
fascinating.
much more detail that it's like I won't even be able to explain all of it to you, because
Yeah.
like I think if I were to reread the book today, even though I just reread it like a month or two ago,
Oh yeah,
I'm probably like
still gonna
still
pick
be
up on.
surprised by something because there's just so much in it that like I can't possibly keep it all in my head.
Yeah,
It answers questions that like you didn't even have. Like
it makes it feel
it's
weirdly like
impossible,
more
incredible.
human. It makes it seem more relatable. You're adding like kinship where there isn't something visually recognizable, which is like part of it. It's like
Yes.
this thing has no idea what visual like beauty or ugliness is. Like you're just all the same. It's more like I don't know how you feel, you sound, you communicate. I don't know. Like that's it. It makes the universe feel more like less empty, you know, more
Mm-hmm.
kind of comforting, which I think is what a lot of people are responding very well to this movie. Like people are loving this one. Like it's doing really well at the box office.
Yeah.
It's like one of the top
So
grossing original
Letterboxd,
movies.
the
It's like
most
five
or
stars,
5 stars,
which is
which
crazy to
it
me
never happens on
for
Letterboxd.
something original, you know. And
Yeah.
like I feel like the themes are not as strong, or because they're like kind of cutting out kind of crucial details, that it feels like it might get lost in the mix by the time like award season is out. Like people are gonna forget about it, and you
I do.
know,
I kind of had the same thought actually.
because
It's like as much as I do love the movie, actually, from a, I mean, a subjective perspective as someone who's already familiar with the
yeah,
story,
you've had a
I
lot, you've been with it a lot longer. You've been with the
yeah,
story longer.
I have to say, like all the people who are saying like, oh, this is going to be a Best Picture nom, like Ryan
It's
Gosling is
so
going to be nominated for
early.
Best Actor. It's like I don't know. Like I do love the movie. There's a lot I love about it. I don't know if it's that good. I don't know.
It just
It's
feels like it's starting to get lost in the mix.
I kind of agree. Like it's a
Um,
great blockbuster. I don't know if it's too much more than that. The science for the most part in Project Hail Mary is theoretically
pretty,
very accurate.
yeah,
And it's like when he takes liberties with stuff like Xenonite, it's like yes, it's not possible for us to make it now, but like who's to say we couldn't in the future? So that's sort of like his way of being like, yeah, it's all
yeah.
theoretically accurate.
And usually fiction has always been the place that propels ideas forward. Like, I mean, how many
Mm-hmm.
people wanted to like watch Star Trek and was like, "Oh, I want that to be real." And like we keep trying to do it over and over. It's like it's always like they have the ideas and they're kind of pushing technology forward because of imagination, not about I just think like Disney Tomorrowland kind of like just the
Yeah.
wonder like it feels very like Tomorrowland coded to me. I don't know
Or like
why.
the World's Fairs, like when we used to do those, like
Yeah.
I we should do World's Fairs again. That
Chicago
rules.
World's Fair. It went back when
Yeah.
Chicago was called the city of the future. Bring it back. My favorite part is like how they have to turn the centrifuge on as like a plot point, where it's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, like all of our equipment's designed for real gravity. You're like, oh, let's just make gravity. Oh, that's a lot easier. It's just
Yeah.
we just have to make gravity. It's easy. And I'm like, yeah, like I feel like making gravity in space has been kind of a taken for granted concept of where it's like I don't know, like it's been so overexposed if it's like, oh yeah, you just spin in space, like
Yeah. A lot
Interstellar
of movies
2001.
just like do that automatically, like without
Yeah.
explaining it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like
I
that they
mean,
like had to just state it, which is kind of cool. The
a
whole thing
little
doesn't
bit.
spin. It just like it extends like a part out that like
Yeah,
goes
well, yeah. So
around.
that's in the book. Although the design of the ship is a bit different in the book.
Sure.
There's not nearly as many rooms. The concept of the tunnel that Rocky makes connecting to one end of the centrifuge, I believe, unless I'm forgetting something, is completely new to the movie because in the book, I'm pretty sure every scene that they have in the tunnel is in zero G. But then what they did in the movie is they just have it connect to one end of the centrifuge. So I think both ships are like spinning at the same time.
Oh
It was
yeah, they
cool
did
like that.
one part it spins and then they caught like matched the spin, which that was like Interstellar moment, like that was
Like
it.
you know the scene like before they even like meet each other
Yeah,
when like the
yeah.
ships are like sort of
Where they're
mimicking
like
each
throwing
other.
footballs to each other. That was like
Yeah,
that's I thought
yeah.
was the Hail Mary mode. They're like throwing the like a basically an alien football at
That's
each
the
other.
Hail Mary, the Project Hail
And
Mary.
then there was not a single real football in the movie. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thanks for telling me about the book. It's awesome. I definitely would want to I probably would have a really good time reading it.
Yeah, no, I think you would.
Yeah.
I love both the book and the movie, but yeah, I gotta say I definitely still prefer the book.
Yeah, it's like classic. Book's better than the movie, but
Yeah, I
it's
don't like to
like
just say that about everything because I don't
yeah.
think that's always true. I think some stories just lend themselves better to books, some lend themselves better to movies.
Charles, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. As always, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
So I hope you enjoyed that. If you want more like videos kind of like this, like kind of review discussions, or just like wrestling with thoughts, I think it's totally fair to not have finished opinions. I think it's completely fair, and we should encourage like unfinished opinions. Like you don't have to pretend like you everything you say is like your final say. Like we change. And so maybe if you share my opinion from the movie, go ahead and like leave a comment. Like I want to discuss it, and if you have other things from the book to share, if you read the book and you have more to share from that, like go ahead, leave a comment, and like let's like start a conversation. Imagine Spider-Verse taking so long that you have the time to make a whole other movie in between.
I know.
They're not
Yeah,
directing
I don't know what's
Spider-Verse,
going
but
on.
they were supposed to come out like last year. Like when they scheduled it,
It
they're
was
like,
originally
"Nuh-uh,
supposed to come out the March
2 weeks."
after the second movie came out. It was
Even
gonna
if
be on my
they
birthday, I think.
Well,
So
that means next time when the third one comes out, I'll say happy birthday.